Welcome to the Stop Down Photography Podcast, episode 80. I'm Scott Davenport. Today's topic is the creative ups and downs we have in photography. Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining. I'm glad to be back with you for another chat about photography, this shared passion of ours. And in today's episode, let's take one more step on our never-ending journey of photography. Every photographer, every creative knows that inspiration strikes. Inspiration is not something we just turn on. There isn't a bucket of inspiration that we dip our cup into when we're ready to go make photographs. Inspiration flows. It also ebbs. Sometimes we have lots of it. Other times we don't. So let's talk about this, and I'll share why this is on my mind. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with a friend on social media or with your camera club. And if you can, please leave a rating for the podcast. The artistic life, it is one of ups and downs. And well, I suppose all life is that, a series of highs and lows. It's certainly true for photography. All photographers have ups and downs. There are those periods where we just don't feel particularly creative. The camera may hold no appeal at all. Call it a rut, a dry spell, what have you. I'm sure you have had your own bouts with a lull in your photography. I'm in one of those lull periods right now. Over the last several weeks, my relationship with the camera's kind of cooled down. I haven't felt very creative, and a byproduct is less motivation and less desire to step out into the landscape and make some photos. And even when I have, I've noticed that I'm avoiding quote-unquote crowded landscapes, like my typical coastal haunts. Not that these areas are shoulder-to-shoulder people. There's certainly space to work. But I've noticed I've just wanted much more isolation. And I'm not sure if that's a longer-term influence of the pandemic. I've always been introverted, don't prefer crowds. But maybe having to be indoors for so many months, maybe it's exacted a toll. Or maybe it's a subconscious thing like this meta-perception. You're out there with the camera, you're not feeling creative, you're kind of fumbling around, and you feel like that inability is abundantly obvious to others. Whatever the reasons, I am unequivocally in a creative valley. And as such, I've been thinking about this cycle of creativity. And we've talked about persevering through creative ruts on the podcast before, shaking up our photography, whether it be post-processing, gear, different locations, stuff to get our creative juices flowing again. Well, there is another approach to dealing with a dip in creativity. Embrace the valley. When you're in a creative void and the camera holds no appeal, you can take a break. Creativity will return. Something will get you curious again. Something you'll want to explore with the camera. Know that your photography has and always will have warm periods and cool periods. It has its ups, it has its downs, and that's normal. Way back in episode 14 of this podcast, an episode entitled Put It on the Shelf, I talked about how I would often go days, if not weeks, after capturing a photo before I process it. Or if I hit a creative wall with an individual photo, taking a break from it, and I return to it later with fresh eyes. On a small scale, on this photo-by-photo basis, it's like embracing the valley of a creative lull. And for this current valley I'm in, with photography as a whole, a cool period with my camera, I'm going to lean in and embrace the valley. Creativity can't be forced, or if it's forced, the resulting work just isn't as strong. Creativity is something that needs to be nurtured. It needs space to grow, to repair itself if it's, quote unquote broken. And to that end, I'm going to take a hiatus from the podcast, and I'm thinking about a month, maybe the month of August 2021. And see where things are in September. What I'm expecting to happen and what I'm hopeful will happen is something in the world will intrigue me. I'll get curious about it, I'll want to explore it with the camera, and the allure of the camera will return. Now, I'm not intending to take a full sabbatical from photography. For those of you that follow me on YouTube or my website, I plan to continue posting videos, but I expect they'll be on the processing side of things, the post-capture aspects of photography. Maybe something with gear. I've got a couple of pieces of gear that have been sitting on my desk that I haven't really done anything with. But no field adventures. I simply just haven't been taking any field trips lately. So this is certainly not a goodbye. Don't take it that way. This is not a goodbye. It's more like a see you in a while. I'm going to press pause, come back in a few weeks when I'm fresher. And if you've got thoughts, you've got stories about your own creative valleys, and if you took time away, what happened when you came back to the camera, or if you found, this aha moment that really changed the trajectory of your photography, I would love to hear from you. You can leave a comment on the webpage for this episode, or you can reach me directly using the contact form on stopdownpodcast.com. A special thanks to the members of our Patreon community. You have fueled this podcast and given so much support to my work over the months and months that you've been there for me. I thank you very, very much. This podcast would not have been possible without you, and your sage advice and thoughts about photography and our conversations in the Patreon community, they're so valuable, and I truly appreciate you being part of my photographic world. If you'd like to learn more about the Patreon community or learn about other zero-cost ways you can support my work, check the show notes. There's also a button on every page of Stop Down Podcast called Support the Show, where you can learn more. So that'll wrap up this week. Take a break, take the month of August, embrace the valley, let my creativity kind of nurture itself, and I do think it's going to come back stronger. Ebbs and flows in our creative life are normal, and it's okay to take a little bit of a break. That's what I'm going to do. In the interim, you can check me out over on YouTube, and as always, my inbox is open. Hit that contact form on stopdownpodcast.com. If you got questions, you got thoughts, the inbox is always open to you. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport. Have fun.